So when you say he's doing work and family time, like business work or like
Yeah.
workout work or like
Yeah, both.
all of it?
Yeah,
It's
all of it.
it's all work like we
Yeah.
talked about.
He's
but-
just told himself, I'm not going to have any cheat meals at all. And like no Netflix, no scrolling through YouTube, nothing. It's just he works his business and works his family.
Hmm.
Like, work your family. You know,
That's
however
pretty
it is.
cool.
It's way cool. And just what he's accomplished in a year. Or it's like those overnight successes that you're like, oh, it's so amazing what they did overnight.
Mhm.
No, he's been working on it for 10 years. It's just he found that formula. It just took him 10
Yeah.
years to build enough of, hey, now I know this. I've really learned knees over toes is important. Okay. And then you start to share that with people who have major influence. And then all of a sudden, boom, you're the knees over toes guy. And every athlete out there is
Yeah.
pulling a sled backwards.
Hmm.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, that is cool. Well, I think the cool thing about, say, like seminars or writing ebooks or whatever it is, I think a lot of people get freaked out, and I even do. Like that, my initial response is like, "Oh, well, I'm not a guru on that stuff."
Yeah.
But I think the key is don't go into it as a guru. Go in there as we're trying to learn as much as we possibly can about business.
Yeah.
And take people along for the ride. And we're putting this together so that people can come together and network. People can come together and listen to these awesome speakers. It's probably not going to be us, or
Yeah.
one might be, or two, or whatever, but bringing other people in, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? And so then it's like, oh, well, I never said I was the guru or knew it all from the beginning. I'm just
Yeah.
putting this together so we can all learn together.
Yeah.
It kind of,
No, I think that's great. And really, if you think of any guru, so Harv Eker is someone that I've went to his seminars and I've read his book and really like him. His success, his initial success came a long time ago. He made one of the first retail fitness, like home fitness equipment businesses in North America.
I thought he was like a personal development guy.
Yeah, he is now.
Oh,
But that's how he made his first couple million.
Hmm.
And then I think he lost it and got it back. But when he's talking about it, you're like, oh, that's great. But Harv, that was 20 years ago. Like, what do you have to teach me? Well, principles are eternal, correct principles.
yeah.
And so, he can teach the mentality side of it. And, there's a couple little things that I do that I got from him, and they're just great. Well, and actually, let me shift to someone named Blair Singer. He said, if you see anything on the ground, like any change, you just increase your net worth. It's only a penny.
Mm-hmm.
But you reach down, you grab that, you put it in your hand, you go, yes, because you just increase your net worth.
Yeah.
And it seems so weird, seems so little, but it's huge. And then we start to do, let's say in fitness, we wear a weight vest for a workout. And as soon as that workout's done, you're like, dang, that was 12 pounds and I've lost 12 pounds. That's how I used to feel to work out.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
Mhm.
I'm on a good path right now.
Yeah.
It's cool. It solidifies that success in our mind, and it also allows us to not be so scared to jump out and try to get things.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's awesome. I love how you said principles are eternal or truth is eternal. We talk a lot about how a lot of these things are just the same thing that people have said for forever, like richest man in Babylon or Andrew Carnegie, these things that
Buddha, Christ.
Thinking, it's been around forever, but it's listening to it from the right person that says it in the right way, that on the right day, probably, we're in the right mindset, and it's like, oh, I get that now, and it's good. Yeah, there's always stuff for us to learn.
Yeah, I love, and I also love hearing when we've chatted about something and it kind of dawns on someone.
Mm-hmm.
Like the other day, we were both showing up, and it was the wife of someone who was here. She's like, it really hit him when you guys said that you're not your job, that you are you, and your job is your job, but you're not your job. I was like, that's cool. Like,
yeah,
and we just kind of know that because we've learned it.
Yeah.
So to us, that's just normal. To him, it was like, I'm not my job. Wait, I'm me? Who am I? Like
Yeah.
it was really good.
Yeah. No, that is cool. Well, and I think a lot of times too, we hear these things, but maybe we hear them from somebody that is far removed away from us, or we feel like, they're worth $100 million. And so
Yeah.
when they say it, it's like, oh, well, that doesn't even apply to me because he's worth $100 million. I'm not, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? There's just some disconnect there. That's what I love about what we're doing is just regular guys going through the process. We're not
Yeah.
saying that we've arrived anywhere
Yeah.
or anything like that. We're just going through the process and talking about what we're picking up and learning and things like that along the way, and
Yeah.
taking people along with us if they want to go.
Yeah.
So it's kind of fun.
It is fun.
Just normal guys.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
yeah.
And I mean, really, some of the most successful people that I've met, you talk to them and you're like, how did you get worth $100 million? Like,
Yeah.
that's nuts.
Just normal
They're
people.
normal people.
Mhm.
They just figured it out.
Mhm.
There's a book called the The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace D. Wattles. And it was written, I think, in 1910, early.
Mhm.
And talks about how getting rich is an exact science. And if you look at anyone who has gotten rich over the years, they follow that exact science. And if they don't follow the ethical and the moral side of the science, they'll lose it all. But if they're moral and ethical and they follow the science, they get to it. And once you kind of look and you know what you're looking for, you're like, oh, there's a big difference, and long-term wealth that they're going to hold on to and that they cherish as far as freedom, like talking yesterday.
Yeah.
Freedom with family and using their financial freedom to better the world. And it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's all awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. So one thing that I've thought about is risk.
Yeah.
So, I think that it's hard for people to make a change because they look at it as being risky.
Yeah.
We're in a society where, it's so interesting because you can find somebody that will tell you any, like say for finances, you can find somebody that tells you that borrowing money is risky, like a Dave Ramsey type mindset. Then you can find somebody that says not borrowing money is risky, like a Robert Kiyosaki mindset. Like there's so many contradictions, and it's so hard to not just get confused and mixed up, But I think one universal truth is we somehow kind of think that there's a fallacy of safety and security, and that we can do certain things to take away risk, which there are some things.
Yeah.
But there's inherent risk in anything.
Oh, absolutely.
So I think that that's one of the big hangups for people is maybe they're in a job or in a secure place, a secure place, quote unquote, because there's probably no such thing, but looking at going away from that and everything they might deem as risky. Or if they're telling, maybe their coworkers or something, hey, I really want to go start this business, then there's always that element of risk that comes up. Oh, that's something that's really risky. Did you know that X amount of businesses fail in the first year or whatever it is?
Yeah.
So how do you measure risk? How do you deal with risk? Is it something you even think about, risk?
Yeah, definitely think about it. That being said, I'm risk averse, but I love it. Like, I really enjoy, okay, it's not risky, but everyone thinks it's risky. That's what I like. When we first started the Rock Wall 14 years ago, a few years later, had some mission buddies who were up here and kind of helped things get going and, helped us build it and everything. They were like, dude, we thought you were crazy. Like, we all thought it would fail. We all thought, like, what are they thinking? I wasn't. I was thinking like, hey, this might work. And if it doesn't, I'm sure going to learn.
Yeah.
And I was young, so I could mess up and not ruin my future. Now, as I've gotten older and have done other things, that whole like get older and risk thing, I actually think it's false too. I used to think, oh, I need to make my mistakes early, because if I make them later, it's too late. But I don't think so. I think someone can quit their job at 50 years old and get out and build a business, or they can build a side hustle while they're working their business and get out. So back to the risk question, I guess it depends on what is more risky. Getting out and seeing if you can make it on your own. Be very open to change. Let things evolve. Bruce Lee, be water, my friend, be water for a while and see where you go. And yeah, you might get to where you got to go get another job, or you stay in that original job, which you might be unhappy in. But you have all that security, right? You have a paycheck that's coming in every month, regardless of inflation. That paycheck's going to come in and it's going to be the same. Maybe some cost of living. You're going to have insurance, which you still have to pay a deductible on. And historically speaking, you're going to pay a lot more to insurance than you're ever going to get back out. Your insurance costs will go up. Your taxes will go up. Everything fixed cost within what you're making, it will go up.
The gallon of milk at the store is going to go up, groceries,
all going to go up,
cars, everything else.
So what is more risky? Staying in that fixed system or jumping out of the fixed system? I actually think it's pretty open to interpretation. Some people stay in that fixed system. That's awesome. And if you're happy, great. If you're not happy, hop out of it. Because to me, it's very worth the risk. And within that risk, you're mitigating risk. So we don't live in a house above our means. I don't drive vehicles that are above our means. We like to go and explore the world a little bit, but we're never getting into debt to do it. We're mitigating a risk within risk. So I could have business dip a little bit and it doesn't change my lifestyle. So, we kind of make our own levels of risk. So I think it's just being smart with that. And, a good way to begin is just get slightly out of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
What's something that freaks you out?
Me?
Yeah.
I hate snakes.
I hate snakes so much.
Like my wife laughs at me because you know what? The other day there's this, so Breezy used to do, still does, but had a fitness coaching business through Beachbody. And so we've got all of these coaches, that we met, because we did that for like 6-7 years. We'd go on trips and everything, and had a great time, met a lot of great people. But I've still got a lot of those people that I'm friends with on Facebook, even though, we haven't been as involved in that the last couple of years. But the other day, this guy, he's from Texas. He actually is a retired cop and is a really successful coach through this company. But I was scrolling, he had a snake in his toilet bowl. Like he was walking, and this is in Texas. Thank goodness I don't.
Like it wasn't supposed to be there.
Yeah, like so he said he was like out of the corner of his eye, like he saw something in the toilet and thought that like somebody didn't clean up or something. Well, he looks over and it was somehow like in one of the flush drain things. And so it had its head out. And then so he, like, the next couple hours, he was posting updates to his story on how him getting the snake out was working. And my bathroom would be destroyed. I didn't have a nightmare that night, but I don't like snakes, which is terrible. And I know the funny thing is I know what and maybe you're going this direction, but I know that the solution to that is going and messing around with snakes.
Yeah, snakes are maybe a little different. You never need to touch a snake. Never, ever. Yeah, you could go your whole life being unsuccessful. You don't need to touch a snake. No, I'm actually the same. If it was one thing, that and like tarantulas, spiders.
Yeah.
No desire. Well, like skydiving was kind of scary to me.
Yeah.
So I was like, let's go skydiving.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, that's a little nerve wracking. Let's go. Because I love getting out of my comfort zone. I love it so much. I
It is
probably
good.
love it too much.
Yeah.
And I've noticed that when I stop getting out of my comfort zone, okay, now that I'm going to say this out loud, this is very obvious. When I stop getting out of my comfort zone, I strive to get in it less, you know, because I get comfortable.
Yeah.
So that makes a lot of sense. But when we're out, hey, let's go skydiving. Hey, let's go on a hike here. Hey, let's go on a dirt bike ride over here. Hey, let's start another business. Hey, let's do a podcast, like whatever it is. Just getting out of the comfort zone. And then you start getting out and you're like, oh, it's really nice out here. There's a lot of freedom out here.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Well, like, you know, on Raoul Paul, I mean, he always says, okay, here's your comfort zone over here. Here's where the magic happens over here.
Yeah.
Like there's no overlap,
Yeah.
you know, they're completely different places. You know, and lots of people have said like it's magic, like unexplainable things happen, good things happen when you just decide to go for it and get out of the comfort zone and that kind of stuff.
Something to do with faith.
But it is risky.
Yeah.
It is always risky to, you know, maybe go and try to network with somebody in a new group or whatever, you know, there's the risk of being turned down or whatever, or maybe, you know, being embarrassed or something like that.
Yeah.
There's, you know, skydiving, obviously there's inherent risks.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, there's always risk associated with getting out of our comfort zone, but there's also risks associated with staying in our comfort zone.
Exactly. Yep.
You know, and I think that was the big kind of thing that I looked at when I was, you know, really trying to figure out, do I like this job? Do I like this business? Do I want to move on to something else? Was exactly what you were talking about before. You know, yes, there's risk moving outside of that, but there is also risk staying in it as well. And so when you kind of try to measure risk and it's like, okay, this activity is very risky, you know, maybe it's 100 on a risk scale.
Yeah.
And you think of your job as maybe it feels like a 20 on the risk scale. You know, there's some security there and whatever. Well, if you really start looking at it, like you were saying, what if inflation ticks up and your wages don't stay there? What if you get to retirement and you don't have what you thought was there? Or what if like Social Security, they don't increase it as much, you know, the cost of living doesn't keep up. So now, you know, for me, those are huge risks.
Yeah.
I think those are bigger risks than, and we never talk about those as a society.
No, because it's so noble to to graduate and contribute to your 401k. And it's like, that's the American dream.
Yeah. Well, and I think that it's just, it would, you know, with the censoring and stuff like that, you know, if we were openly talking about the failures of the Social Security system or the failures of, you know, pension funds or whatever, then obviously that reflects badly on government. So I think a lot of that stuff's kind of, you know, propagated out that it's a good thing and censored a little bit in the downfalls of it. But, you know, that's what I was looking at is what's the chances that I get to the end of my career and, you know, retirement age or whatever, and the pension's not what I thought it was, or the Social Security wasn't what I thought it was, or, you know, those kind of things. Well, now all of a sudden the risk, you know, maybe it was a 20 risk before, you start to add some of these other factors in. Well, now maybe it's a 50 risk, or maybe it's a 70 risk. So really you're only offsetting maybe 30 or 40 points of extra risk by going out and starting a new business. I don't know, maybe that's a confusing way to look at it, but there's definitely some things to add in on, you know, look at the whole picture. Don't just look at month to month or day to day, what the benefits of staying in one spot are. What's the, you know, same with health. Is there risks going to a job, going to the gym and working out? Sure, there's risks. You could pull a muscle, you could have an injury, you could, you know, drop a 45-pound plate on your foot or something. You know, like there is risks there. Is there risks not going to the gym? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Diabetes, heart disease, obesity, like there's risks there too. And so I think a lot of times we need to look at the risks properly, look at the whole picture and say, what's the risk in what on the risk scale, what's the time factor worth, where maybe you're having to work overtime all the time to make ends meet in the job, but maybe you have to work the same hours in a business or more hours, but you're able to kind of decide what hours those are, or you're able to take your kids and family along with you when you're doing some of those things. And so there's some risk there as well in relationships and that kind of thing. So I don't know. I just think that we need to look at the big picture, and a lot of times we don't.
Our 11-year-old, he came up to me the other day and he's like, Dad, how much do lawyers make? I said, well, I didn't look it up, but I was like, well, I probably starting out 80 to 100,000 a year would be my guess.
Mm-hmm.
He goes, oh, I think I want to be a lawyer. I went, okay, so then just think about this. You're going to go to school, get 4 years of an undergrad, and then after that, you go 4 more years and, you get your doctorate and pass the boards and become an attorney. And starting out, well, there's a good chance you're working 60, 70 hours a week, because you're building that name and you're out there doing your thing. And attorneys that I know, it's kind of how it's been. They start off not making as much money, but they're putting in tons and tons of hours. And then they can put in less hours and they start to make a little bit more money. And it's great. Like, it's great for them.
Mm-hmm.
But I just wanted him to be aware of that. Just so you're probably going to be putting in 60 hours a week. Well, I don't want to work 60 hours a week. So, okay, well, then that's a really good lesson.
Mm-hmm.
You might not want to work 60 hours a week, but there's a job that makes $2 million a year. Working 60 hours a week. Is $2 million worth it for you to do 60 hours a week? Well, I don't know. I don't know either. Let's figure it out. What kind of lifestyle do you want to live? What kind of time do you want with your family? Like, there's so much that goes into all of this. But it's okay to think about it. It's okay to break it down, and it's okay to be wrong.
Yeah.
If you quit your job and things don't quite work out, you're like, dang, I actually really miss my job. Cool. You just learned.
And you can go back to that.
You can go back
most of the time, or a similar job.
Yeah.
I think a lot of times not a lot of times, our system is set up in a way that discourages looking and dabbling, like we've talked about. We think that we have to have it figured out by the time we leave high school. And 18 years old and know what we want to do for the rest of our life. And then somehow and then we give our our high school age people a list of jobs with the salary next to it. So it's like, make a decision off of this based upon the salary, not upon your passion and what you're excited about. And then, go into that and get your degree or whatever it is. And then, so you're done with college by the time you're, 20, I was like on the 5 or 6 year plan, so it took, but you're done, say, by 25. And then you're expected, if you somehow deviate from that for the next 40 years, you're weird or something. It's just so bizarre. Like, how are we supposed to know what we want to do when we haven't had any job experience? 18 years old. I mean, you maybe flipped some burgers or had a paper route or something like that. Maybe. So it's just such a bizarre system. When you really look at it, it's just so weird.
It is really weird. And there's a lot of anxiety around that age group where they're maybe just finishing up undergrad and they're like, I have done school now, high school, right into college. I've done high school and college for 8 years now. I'm so tired and burned out. Now I'm going to go do another 4 years, to get a PhD, or another 2 years to get a master's. And the amount of anxiety and honestly depression and just a crappy outlook on life from a lot of kids that age. It's like, dude, take a year off. Just go, like, what do you want to, and we have this conversation quite often with that age group. what do you want to do? Well, I want to become a physical therapist. I'm like, no. Like, what? Not what you want to do for a job. What do you want to do? Like, for fun? I'd actually love to go live in Mexico. Go live in Mexico for a year.
Yeah.
Just go. 1 year is not going to do anything. In fact, it's probably going to look better on your master's resume to say that you went and worked in Mexico for a year and now you know some Spanish.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just go.
And how to meet people and how to network and how to observe a new culture and race of people. Like, I mean, there's so many lessons that just in living life that we don't take credit, that we don't give credit for. It's just, it is bizarre.
Or the thought that you have to get a degree no matter what job you're going to do. So met someone the other day that wants to start a CrossFit affiliate. They love it. And their idea is to go and become a physical therapist and then open up a CrossFit gym. And I was like, hey, that's great because that's extra, there's extra knowledge there. There's this, there's that. I was like, so are you going to be a physical therapist and own the gym? And they're like, no, I just want to own the gym. I don't want to be a physical therapist.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why are you going to college?
Yeah.
Like, go get your level 1, which is a weekend course, open a gym, and use your clients to learn all the stuff that you want to learn. Because if it's just for the knowledge and the whole idea is to run a CrossFit affiliate, we don't need to do all that other crap.
Mm-hmm.
You can, like, there's nothing wrong with it. But in their mind, they were like, well, no, I have to go get that education in order for me to do this. Like, no, it's backwards.
Yeah.
It's okay to fake it till you make it. It's okay to jump in right now and be completely transparent with people. Hey, I took a weekend course. I don't know what I'm doing, but if you'll let me, I'm going to practice on all of you.
Mm-hmm.
People love that. They go, okay, cool. Now that's some risk for them.
Yeah.
That's also a risk for the individual that's going for it. But let's say they get 2 years in and they find out, okay, maybe I want to be a physical therapist. What are they out?
Yeah.
Nothing.
And they gain some knowledge along the way that can help them in that.
Yep. Yeah, we're not against college degrees. It doesn't have to happen that way.
Yeah.
I have a degree in healthcare administration.
Mm-hmm.
We'll never use it.
Mm-hmm.
Nor, I mean, the only thing I think of now is like medical coding. Like, how many codes will the V get, and how much are they? None of it matters.
How many jobs have you had that, and I know that they're out there, so I'm not trying to like put this a blanket statement on everything, but how many jobs have you had where they actually cared about your degree?
Jobs where they said they cared about the degree.
Yeah. Like up front, like you have to have it in order to.
Well, that's the funny part is yes, until they found out that they needed me.
Yeah.
And then it didn't matter anymore.
Yeah.
And then it was, hey, but you can't progress until you have that degree. Okay. Until they needed me.
Yeah.
And then it goes, we'll waive that part.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I can see the allure, like, hey, they were so dedicated. They finished 4 years. So let's get that person. But I think that as time goes on, we're kind of finding out that that's
people
flawed.
aren't really looking for that anymore.
Yeah.
I haven't had, I mean, granted, I've mostly done my own business. I've had a couple jobs, here and there. None of them.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
Not to say that it wasn't good to do.
For sure.
I mean, there's valuable lessons there. And obviously there are some things that you have to do that in order to, if you want to be an accountant, obviously you have to go to college, and that's great.
Yeah.
But I think we're just mainly saying there's options.
Yeah.
Don't get just in a single track mind and think that there's only one way, because there's lots of different ways to be successful.
I'd love to challenge the system though, and not get rid of, but have another option. And that would be apprenticeships.
Yeah.
Like, why not have someone who's a licensed, not apprentice, but master, licensed master. And I go into accounting or being an attorney or a doctor or, any of those. get back to the apprenticeship thing.
Yeah.
You know, hey, he worked with me for 10 years and now he passed these boards. He's good to go.
Yeah.
I would love that.
Well, and that's kind of what we still have in some of the technical type,
Yeah, very true.
you know, VOTEC type stuff.
Yeah.
Which I know a lot of guys that make a lot of money
Yeah.
doing that. And it's, you know, I think probably if, you know, it depends on what my kids want to do, but I mean, those are totally on the table, and actually kind of me encouraging them to
Yeah.
look at some of that stuff. You know, there's just such a demand for that.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I mean, it's just, I mean, but it's crazy too, because anymore, you know, we get a degree to get a job, and then the job is going to require us to be trained on that job anyway. And so, you know, it's kind of interesting. I have a friend that his brother is a welder, a really good welder, you know, and does fine, makes, you know, makes good money. But my friend, he never went to college, never anything else, very personable, like, you know, like just was everybody's friend and not afraid to go and talk to people, and, you know, very personable person, and got a job at I think it's like a potato warehouse.
Yeah.
But he, you know, just kind of worked his way into leadership positions and different things. And then they trained him to, I think he like rebuilds motors. So there's like a lot of electrical motors and stuff in potato warehouses. He makes a lot more than the welder guy does, you know, than his brother that's a welder. And the brother that's a welder was complaining about that, you know, like, I went to all this school and I, you know, like honed my craft and everything, which is good. And he's like, but he makes way more money than I do, you know? And so, but we don't ever talk about those kinds of things. Like, just be a good person, try to grow, try to be personable, you know, some of those those timeless skills is more important than some of this stuff. I don't know.
No, I totally agree. It's at least thinking about it from, you know, kind of moral, ethical background, like none of this is worth it if you're going to hose people over.
Yeah.
It's just not, like, I just couldn't like live with myself knowing that, hey, I've become massively successful off of screwing people over.
Yeah.
Like, just be a really good person, and I think it'll all work out. And if it doesn't, at least I was a nice, good person instead of, you know, the guy that it didn't work out that still tried to screw people over.
Yeah.
Just be good, be good. Yeah. And, you know, those kind of noble things too, I think make risk a little bit easier. You know, if your business is based off of, let's say, illegal practices, that seems pretty dang risky to me too. Not only do you have the risk of messing up your business, you also now have the risk of going to jail. You're doing something illegal. Like, mitigate your risks by doing legal things.
Yeah.
Which makes sense to a, you know, normal pair of moral and ethical people. But, you know, I think too, there can be some allure in different places, and just don't ever get off in the weeds in that regard. That whatever you're doing, it's going to be risky, it's going to be scary, but make it legal, moral, and ethical. And then no matter what happens, you've maintained being a good person.
Yeah.
Or at least trying to be a better person, which, can you imagine if everybody on the earth was like, I'm going to be better today than I was yesterday? I can't even imagine.
Yeah.
Oh, it'd be so cool.
Yeah.
And me too. Like, I need to do the same thing.
Well, and I think that's an important thing, is giving ourselves credit for that. You know, when I have a hard time of that sometimes, you know, today looking at, oh, I didn't get this done and this done and this done, or, oh, I haven't hit this goal yet. Well, look back a year, look back 6 months and see, man, I've really grown a lot over the last year. You know, we get so caught up in thinking forward a lot of the times, which makes us anxious and everything else, instead of looking back and going, hey, I've set a pretty good trajectory for myself.
Yeah.
As long as I can keep doing what I'm doing, you know, learning and growing, and then it's all good, you know?
Yeah.
So
we can kind of mitigate risk too by the simple act of visualizing what we want things to be. And that might sound a little weird and kind of hokey, but if you've worked this out in your mind 50 different ways for 50 different nights for 30 minutes each, you're 25 hours into this business without touching anything.
Mhm.
And you've gone through some scenarios. So if something pops up, you fixed it in your mind.
Mhm.
And so like we should never discount the power of the mind and the power of the mind in helping mitigate our mental risk. You know, a lot of times this risk is just made up in our heads. It's some type of, what if scenario. And usually the what ifs don't happen. What if I go bankrupt? Well, you're probably not going to go bankrupt. Well, what if this? Well, you probably won't, but maybe you will.
Mhm.
And that's okay too. Then you go through bankruptcy and you're like, oh, that wasn't as bad as I thought.
Yeah.
Oh, I really screwed up. I'm never going to do that again.
Yeah. And I learned all of these lessons along the way. I mean, you look at, it seems like, isn't it most or a lot of millionaires have gone bankrupt a couple times or whatever, you know, and they came back stronger.
Yeah.
It's just like we've talked about in anything. Anytime we fail, we have the opportunity to learn from that and move forward. I don't ever want to go bankrupt.
Yeah.
But I fail in other things every day. And as I do that, I learn from that and move forward.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Risk is it's an interesting thing because I think risk is totally based upon perspective.
Yeah.
Like, what is your perception of risk? Is your perception of risk that a paycheck is not guaranteed to come in next month? Like if that's what somebody is basing their risk assessment on, then yeah, maybe quitting and going and starting a business is risky.
Yeah.
Is risk that, the inflation example that we gave, that shoot, and at retirement, I might not have enough. And so I need to learn something so that I can, if I need to get more, I know how to go find more, kind of stuff. So it's just interesting, people's perception. I was listening to one of my mentors the other day, and it was on a podcast. They were talking about risk in investing mainly. He's like a stock investor and like even real estate and stuff. But so he's an investor, and he said, because they were talking about that, how do you decide how much risk you can take? And he said, okay, say you're a guy that's 60 years old and you have $10,000 in the bank, like to your name, in retirement, and you're 60. Does that guy need to take on a little bit of risk, or does that guy need to take on a lot of risk? And, the guy that was interviewing him was like, well, he's like, oh man, like that guy's almost retirement age. Like he needs a little bit of risk, because if he loses that $10,000, then he's screwed.
Yeah.
And the mentor guy's like, no, like that guy needs as much risk as he can possibly find, because he's already screwed anyway.
Exactly.
He whether he has 10,000 or zero really isn't going to make that much difference to him.
Yeah.
And so he needs to take on as much risk as he can. And the interviewer was like, man, I guess I never even thought about that before.
Yeah.
And so it's just our perspective,
Yeah.
what is the being mindful of what we want, and really taking stock of where we're at, and then making adjustments to get where we want to be.
Yeah.
So
totally just lost what I was going to say, but it was going to be decent. I guess it wasn't going to be that good, or I'd keep remembering it.
Yeah. I just, and I don't think things are as risky as we think they are.
Yeah.
A lot of times we go to the worst case scenario, like you were saying, when we think about, quitting a job, or, we go back to that, but that's, kind of a main example for us. But we go to the worst case scenario. What if I fail?
Yeah.
What if I you know, da 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 da
Yeah.
da. Da.
But what if you don't?
Right.
That's what's cool.
Yeah.
And honestly, some of the riskiest things, riskiest to society that we've done have been some of the best things that we've done.
Yeah.
You know, when the whole COVID thing happened and the stock market crashed and crypto was all insanely on sale.
Mm-hmm.
I never had more conviction over something in my life as that crypto would be a life changer.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, do we have an extra $10? Yeah. Okay. It's going into Cardano. Like,
Mm-hmm.
but the world and friends like looked at that and they're like, dude, that's crazy. Why? Why would you ever? I'm like, I don't know. But it feels so good.
Yeah.
And if I'm wrong, who cares?
Yeah.
If I'm right, this is going to be good.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's even it's the same with anything. You know, like what's worth it?
Mm-hmm.
And actually knowing I don't know the word for it, like knowing the anti-risk. Like, you know, what if it doesn't not work out? Let's just double negative as much as we can here.
Yeah.
What if it works out?
Mm-hmm.
You have more time with your family, you're making more money, you can adapt with society, you're adding value to the world, all these good things.
Mm-hmm.
But we just, what if I mess up?
Well, and I think we leave it up to chance too. We think that success is, if, you know, we still think that it's luck.
Yeah.
And then, you know, so instead of saying, what if I fail or what if I succeed? Well, let's take the what if out of it.
Yeah.
Let's start learning how successful people think. Let's start learning how successful people structure their lives so that they can accomplish more. You know, then it takes the what if out of it.
Yeah.
You know, and it starts to take some of that risk away. You know, Robert Kiyosaki always talks about the best way to hedge risk is to increase your education about a subject.
Yeah.
You know, if you, a lot of people think investing in real estate is risky. Well, if I study and learn a lot about real estate and I have, I know what the market's doing, I know what, you know, maybe what it's going to cost to fix up that house. I know kind of, you know, I've educated myself. Well, then really there's no risk.
Yeah.
Because I know the answers.
Yeah.
You know, so same thing with starting a business or moving to another job or anything. Well, what are some of the things that I can learn that are going to make me more successful in that business, and start going through those things? And then, you know, what's the market for that product? What are other people in the space doing? What, how many hours a day do I need to work on that? What's the best equipment I can use for it? You know, all of these things as we educate ourselves and understand that it takes risk completely out of the equation, really.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's still always risk in everything, but we can get down to a part where most of the risk has to do with ourselves.
Yeah.
You know, it's all human error is the biggest part of the pie when you look at risk and a failing business. Very little of it's the economy.
Yep.
Very little of it is, you know, outside forces. Most of it is the individual. So if we can grow as an individual, educate ourselves in those things, we are very much diminishing the amount of risk that we are taking.
Yeah.
So,
well, and the best way to learn all of that is to just jump into it. So you'll hear people and they'll go, I just don't know enough about crypto to invest in it. Like, oh, you want to learn about crypto? Go put $100 in it.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to learn very quick.
Yeah.
You know, you're going to be like, why is this fluctuating 20% a day? Well, look into it, you know, like, let's go see. And then you're going to start to learn that, and you're going to blow yourself away how much you can learn by just jumping in.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's something as simple as I did a tile job maybe 5-6 years ago. And they're like, hey, we would like to do these quarter bricks. It's the backsplash with mortar in between them. And I was like, oh, I've never done that.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds great. Let's do it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, on that job, I mean, I was going to make sure to do it really good. I mean, that was the point, and it did. But on that job, essentially, they were paying me to learn how to do that.
Yeah.
But wouldn't have known how if they didn't say, hey, we want to do this. And I just go, sweet, let's make it happen. Now we're going to do that in our house because I know I can. I practiced on somebody else's house.
Mm-hmm.
You just jump in, you're going to learn it. And if you don't, doesn't matter. Life is good.
Yeah.
Go back to doing what you're doing and reset and recalibrate. Life is millions of choices, and 999,999 might be wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And that one's good. So.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. I heard there's a quote from somebody famous. I don't know who it was, but like that opportunity is like a bus maybe or something. Like there's, or a train, I think it was a train. If you miss one, there's another one coming around,
Yeah.
And I think there has to be some commitment there when we decide to go into an opportunity or whatever, there can't be apathy towards, oh, well, it's just an opportunity. And if I fail, then I'll just quit and jump on the next opportunity. But just knowing that there is opportunity, commit yourself. If you legitimately fail, then there's other opportunities around.
Yeah.
But commit to what you're doing. If you're gonna start a side hustle, commit to it.
Yeah.
That's the only way you're really gonna learn is by committing to it, not being apathetic. But so
evolving, adapting. Don't do the same thing that fails over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
And it generally works out. It's pretty cool. The businesses that you hear, 5 out of 6 businesses fail or whatever. No, 5 out of 6 business owners stopped.
Yeah.
Like I really think that very few actually just fail because they sucked.
Mm-hmm.
They mostly fail because you ran out of money and you weren't willing to go find more capital, or a myriad of other reasons.
Or you mismanaged the money you had, or you, Mm-hmm.
It's cool. So risk isn't.
And well, I'm just going to say, every business that we celebrate now was a risk. Like you look at Jeff Bezos, like quitting his job, moving across country to start an online book, everybody told him he was crazy. Everybody. And now look at him, or all these examples we hear about all the time. Elon Musk, have you seen the video of all of his rocket explosions, like all of his failed launches? There's a video that I saw, and maybe it's not all of them, but it's like rocket after rocket after rocket, blowing up. And then there was an interview of somebody that's like, all of your critics are saying that you shouldn't be doing this and that you're not going to be successful or whatever. And they're like, aren't those people that you looked up to? And he's like, yeah. He's like, those are my heroes. And he's like, does that make you want to quit? And he's like, oh no, like I don't quit, And I'm like, oh, that's cool. That's pretty cool. Like there's tons of risk in what he's doing, but he's minimized risk by just learning and pushing through and just having that commitment to it. So it's cool.
Yeah. I think the lesson is that risk is not as risky as we think, and that risk is completely necessary. Yeah. Even talking the other side of it, there's risk in going to college and getting in student loan debt and starting a family. There's risk in everything. It's just now we have to figure out, what am I willing to risk? Well, I was willing to jump into marriage because the risks didn't seem as, downside as all the upside. And throughout marriage, you learn and you grow, and it was a good decision having kids. Is it hard? Yeah. Is it some sacrifice? Yeah. But great things come out of it that supersede all of that other stuff. Starting a business. Is it risky? Yeah. Is it worth it? Yeah. It's good.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Totally agree.
It's difficult. It's good.
I like that.
Yeah.
Well, and so maybe the action steps, kind of the takeaways for today, could be if you're out there and you're thinking about quitting a job or quitting a business and moving into something else, the side hustle or something that you're gonna put all your focus on, but you're hung up on the risky part of it. Maybe take out a sheet of paper and draw a line down the middle of it and put the risks of your current situation
Yeah.
on one side and look at the whole picture.
Yeah.
Look at 30 years down the road, look at, family time, look at all the aspects of your life that you're looking to make, to benefit, to make a change in. So put all of those risks on one side of the sheet. On the other side of the sheet, put down the risks of the business, all of those kind of things, and then measure them out. But look at the whole picture together, and not just kind of the short-term thing. And do that, go through that. I think the other thing is what you brought up is start getting out of your comfort zone.
Yeah. Go touch a snake.
Yeah. I know that would help me. Like, I know that if I just went out and I know that it would help.
I hate
That's
snakes.
but that's really, that's the solution to the problem, is just to go do it. I hate getting up in front of people and speaking, whatever, like that's not one of mine, but I know that's one that, I mean, it's not one that I love. It's definitely uncomfortable for me, as it is for anybody, but that's one thing that people are completely afraid of.
Yeah.
We'll go do that. And then you find out that's not that big of a deal.
It's not that bad.
So that's the other action step. Get out of your comfort zone, go network with new people, or go try a hobby or a stunt maybe that you haven't done before. Go skydiving.
Yeah.
Some of those things. And then we start to get comfortable being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And being okay with that.
Yeah. Those kind of people are dangerous in a good way.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's about to get uncomfortable. Good. Like that's the person you want on your team in the apocalypse.
Yeah. They'll touch snakes.
They'll touch. Yeah. I'm out. Snakes and spiders. Like I could be in the apocalypse in, like, I don't know, the North Pole, where there's no snakes, no spiders.
When I saw that video the other day, I was like, I'm so glad we live in Idaho that I don't have to. I mean, there's snakes here, but I don't have to worry about them. Hopefully climbing up through the toilet.
Have you seen the video of the snake handler? There's like a bunch of king cobras, and he's walking through feeding them, and one kind of strikes at him, and he looks at it and he smacks it on the head.
Oh, geez.
Like, they have this relationship where he's their master and they know it, and it kind of, pounced a little, and so he smacks it. Yeah. Or there was one
and it didn't eat him.
It didn't know. No, but it would eat me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, now I know what TikTok videos to send you.
Sounds good.
Snakes.
Yeah.
No.
Right.
Well, thanks for today. Yeah.
It's
Risk. It's not as crazy as people think.
And there's risk everywhere.
Risk everywhere. Go drive your vehicle. You're risking it. Go up in an airplane. You're risking it.
Yep.
You're not going to the gym. You're risking it. You're eating a Twinkie. You're risking it.
Yep.
So.
Yeah. Cool. Sounds good.
Sweet. Well, there's a podcast scheduled to come out tonight at midnight. So tomorrow at midnight. And then this one will come out on Tuesday, and we'll just keep that schedule going.
Sounds good.
So
look forward to it.
Sweet. All right. Well, thanks, and have a good day.
See ya.